Today, students, we are doing lesson 4 from EVS for Standard 5 Environmental Balance. So, come along then. Let's read and understand it. This video was made just for you. Do remember to like, share, and subscribe. Environmental balance. Now, before we begin this lesson, children, try this activity. Ask the elders in your family to take you to a riverside or to a lake or a stream, any place where there is water bodies as well as anything open space. Now ask your elders. Who are your elders older to you? People older to you, maybe your grandparents, parents, your uncle, aunt, or maybe even older cousin brothers or your real brother or sister. So ask them to take you to any water body, that is riverside or lake or stream, and then observe all the things very, very carefully. What all living things that you find, all the living things. Okay, so make a list of all the living things you see there. So make a long list of any minute thing, maybe plants, maybe animals, maybe birds, maybe butterflies, maybe small insects, anything that you see. Okay, and if you look at the picture here, there is this family that has come. Maybe this is the young boy, and he looks like a grandfather, and this is maybe a mother or an older sister, and we have the pet. Okay, so they are come and they are observing everything in nature. There is water, there is some little, I think it looks like a squirrel, there is a rabbit, there are cows, okay, birds flying, there are so many plants, so many trees. Okay, so like this, take a notebook with you and list down all the living things that you see. And if you do not know the names of any of the living things you see, make a note of them by describing their shape, color, sound, and shelter. So, suppose if you don't know the name of any insect or a bird, an unusual bird that you see, when we observe carefully, we find so many new things, isn't it? So, therefore, jot down what is the shape, what was the color, what was it doing, where was it living, okay? All these things, and if possible, you can draw the picture, okay? So, you could draw the picture, or you could click pictures from your, if you from your mobile or a camera that you have. Okay, so you can click picture and jot down and count how many types of living things you see. Okay, so make a list, count down, write it in numbers. Okay, so make a list of all the things you see, and then later on, now repeat the activity near your house, in the school garden, or in a field. So wherever you can go, not only in school garden. If it is not possible in the school garden, you can go around any other garden that you see, or in an open field. So repeat this activity as many number of times as you can. Okay, so not only very close to your house, or you could go little away, when maybe in a picnic spot or something, as a family outing that you have gone to. But do take a notebook and write down all the living things that you see over there. Now, can you tell, in the course of your observation, that is, while you are observing, did you notice any signs of the presence of living things, though the living things were not present? Maybe you saw something that you felt that this animal or this bird could have been here, but why I can't see it? Did you find that? Did you, while you were observing, did you notice any such thing? For example, did you know, no, did you notice any partly eaten fruits, that is, any fruits that had been eaten by somebody and thrown away, or maybe shells of some, fruits, dry fruits or anything, or fallen feathers? So did you find a feather that looked like a pigeon's feather, but there are no pigeons around, so where did this feather come from? Or animal tracks. What are animal tracks? When the animals walk, they leave footprints, isn't it, if the mud is soft and all that? So what kind of animal tracks did you see? So try to see it carefully. Try to judge from the feet which animal could it be. Okay, the dung of the animal, that is, that cow dung. Okay, so and droppings of other animals, the droppings of the goat, the sheep, or maybe the droppings of the birds. Okay, and nests, cocoons, eggs, honeycomb. Did you see all these? Did you find any nest over there? Did you find any cocoons? Did you notice any eggs? Okay, or honeycombs, etc. So observe very, very carefully. So whenever you are making this list, see that you observe very carefully each and every little things. Jot it down. Make a note of it. And could you observe any microorganisms? Now, what are microorganisms? Microorganisms are tiny living things that we see that are present in the environment, but we cannot see them. Okay, so were you able to see any microorganisms? And how many types of living things did you see? So how many? How did you have made a list of it? Count them or number them. So what was your count? How many different types of living things did you see at places you visited? So various places you visited. Do you think, now think about this, do you think you saw all the kinds of living things that belong there? Were you able to see all of them, or some were missing? Okay, so think about it. And did you see any living things at various places or different ones? Okay, so when you went visiting to different places, did you see the same kind of animals and birds and other living things and plants, or were they different? Okay, think about all these things when you're observing, making your list, as well as when you come back home. Try to read out all the lists that you have made and try to find the differences, try to find the similarities. So, the variety we see in all living things that belong to a particular area is called the biodiversity of a place. So, now we will learn this is what is biodiversity. What does biodiversity mean? This is an important point. Do remember, do read it again and again. So, what is biodiversity? Biodiversity means the variety. What is variety? The different kinds of things. And here we are looking at bio. Bio means living. Okay, diversity means a different kinds of living things that we see in a particular place. So that is called the biodiversity of that place. Got it? So this is an important point, and do read it again and again and try to remember it. Now, can you tell? Okay, can you tell which one of the places you visited shows greater biodiversity? So which place showed greater, that is more biodiversity, but there were more variety of living things, not more number of, okay, of the same living things, not that. Okay, variety, different kinds of living things, more variety of living things. So do observe that and do note that also. To study the biodiversity of a place, scientists make a large number of observations. So, scientists are also observing, just like you did this activity. This activity was done for you to realize about your nature. So, just like you did these activities, there are scientists who do this particular activity to study the biodiversity, to understand what all living things are there in a particular area. So, they will do this a large number of observation, just like you must have done two or three, isn't it? So they do a large number of observations, and there are a number of scientists to do it, just not one or two. There are many scientists doing it at a large area. So they make these observations in different conditions also. Okay, so different types of environment also, so different climatic conditions. Okay, so they will try to do it in different conditions, such as they will do it in day and night. Okay, so not only during the daytime, they will do it in the night time also. Now when you went to observe, you did it only during the daytime, isn't it? It is not possible for you to go out in the night time. Don't do it in the night time. Okay, but scientists do observe it during the day and night. Now if we know that there are the animals that are there in the daytime, they will go to sleep, but there are some animals that come out only in the night. They are called the nocturnal animals. Okay, so like we have the bats. Okay, we have the owls, we have the rats, we have the cockroaches. There are so many other insects that come out in the night only, isn't it? We don't find them in the daytime. So these scientists will make the study not only during the daytime but also during the night time, as well as in different seasons. Okay, so we know that there are some animals that we see only during a particular season. Now say for example a cuckoo, the bird cuckoo. Okay, koel that we call. So we'll find the koel only just before the rainy season, isn't it? It comes, it sings, and it flies away. Okay, and then there are some animals we see only in the rainy season. That is the frogs. The frogs come out only in the rainy season. We don't see them throughout the year. So the scientists will try to study about the living things in different seasons. So not only animals, they will study about all other living things like plants and trees and all that, and microorganisms also. And so they have special devices to make an observation of living things that are found at greater heights or depths, as well as microorganisms. Okay, so because microorganisms cannot be seen with a naked eye, so they require special devices. Devices are instruments. Okay, special things, special small machines. Okay, to observe it. So they will observe it at great heights also. So they will travel towards mountainous regions also to study the biodiversity, as well as they will go into depth. Depth means inside the water bodies. Okay, deep inside. So they will travel deep inside the water, that is the rivers, the ponds, as well as the seas also. So there are lots of living things, in the water. There are fishes. There are microorganisms there also. There are different kinds of plants that live in the water, isn't it? We'll find frogs living in the water. So there are other living things also in the water. Not only that, they will also go deep into the caves, or maybe down into where there are holes or chasms in the soil. Okay, so they will observe it not only at great heights but also deep down also. And observations of many scientists are brought together and studied again. So all these scientists will bring their observations, whatever they observe, whatever they noted down, they will bring it all together and study it minutely, just like what you did, isn't it? You took the list of your 2 or 3 places that you had visited, and then you studied and you made the observations, and then you found out what was the similarities, what were the differences. So in the same way, even the scientists will do all these things. Okay, they will they'll bring together all their observations, whatever they studied, and they will find out, they will make a report out of it. They will see their observations and make a list of that also. And only when all such efforts are made over a long period of time can we be sure of the biodiversity of a place. So the study is not done, the observation is just not done for a day or a two, or just for a month, or maybe a season or two. No, but they will do it for a long period of time. They will do it for a number of years to study the biodiversity of a place. After they see the same similarities or the same things around for a long period of time, then they will come to the conclusion that yes, this is the variety, or this is what we will find in this particular environment or this particular place. So that is how they will do their observation and come to the conclusion of the biodiversity of a place. Now let's study about the environment. Okay, so today's lesson is based on environmental balance. So first we'll study about environment, and then we'll study about the environmental balance. So what is environment? The surroundings and the conditions in the surroundings which affect the life of the organisms there are together known as environment. So now this is also a very important statement, children. Okay, so do remember. Okay, remember the statement, read about it again and again. And now let me explain to you this. The surroundings. What is the surroundings? All the places around where you stay. Okay, or at a particular place. Okay, so the area around a particular place and the conditions. So what are the conditions? The climatic conditions, or maybe other things, the biodiversity of that place. So all those conditions in those surroundings together, the surrounding and the conditions of the surroundings which affect the living things. Okay, living life of the organisms. Life of the organisms means the living thing. Organisms are living things. So it depends on how these organisms survive, they live. So all these things, the surrounding as well as the conditions of the surroundings together is known as the environment. Okay, so the surrounding and the condition of the surroundings together forms the environment. And what does it include? It includes many components. Components means things that are there in that environment. Means includes all these things such as sunlight, air, water, soil, plants and animals. Okay, so not only sunlight. See, we have sunlight, we have air, we have water, we have soil, we have plants and animals. So we see that there are not only non-living things as well as living things. Sunlight, air, water, soil are non-living things, whereas plants and animals are living things. So not only non-living things but living things are part of our environment. So living and non-living things are dependent on each other. So both are dependent, isn't it? So you will wonder why. How come we don't need non-living things? But yes, see now. If we had seen over here, there is sunlight. Sunlight is non-living thing. We need it, isn't it? We need sunlight. We need air. We need oxygen from the air. We need water and soil to grow our crops and plants grow it. So plants as well as that is plants, animals, and non-living things are dependent on each other. What is dependent? We we cannot do without those things. We cannot do without non-living things, isn't it? So that is called dependent on each other. And there is a lot of give and take or interaction between them, give as well as take. Now for example, you have learnt about the plants making their food. When they make the food, they take in carbon dioxide, okay, and what they do, they give out oxygen, and we take in the oxygen and give out carbon dioxide, isn't it? So there is give and take between the living things, that is the animals as well as plants, isn't it? So they give out oxygen, take in carbon dioxide, we take in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide. So in such a way, there are many such interdependence that happens. So environmental science, that is our EVS, the study of the environment, environmental science studies these interactions. So what is environmental science? What is our EVS? EVS is nothing but the study of all this dependence of living things and non-living things in nature. Now, let's look at the picture given on this alongside over here. So, look at the pictures of the living and non-living things given below. So, if you look at this, there are some birds, the insects, there are animals, there are even non-living things that are shown. Okay, so all these are there, and discuss the mutual relationship. What is mutual? Mutual means same. Okay, relationship between these various factors of the environment. All this belong to the environment. So what is the relationship between these things? Okay, if we see that each and everything is dependent on the other. So the duck may be eating the fish, okay, the cow eats the grass, grasshopper eats the grass, whereas a snake may eat the rat. Okay, then even the stone and the soil, the rain, here we see the stump of the tree, there is this caterpillar, there is water body, this is chameleon, the eagle, the heron, the elephant, as well as we have the sun, the mountain, everything, isn't it? Grass. So all these things are all dependent on each other for their need and for the food, isn't it? So living and non-living thing, living factors of the environment. So this forms our environment, not only living things but non-living things also. So the clouds and the rain, the the dead stump of a tree, the stone, the rock, as well as all living things, they are all part of nature and all are dependent on the other. Now let us understand what is a food chain. Now for this, look at the pictures given below. There are these set of four pictures that are given. In the first picture, we see the sun and the plants. Then in the second picture, we see the worm. The third picture, we see the grasshopper, and then we have the bird. So if you look at it very carefully, okay, so the plants make their food in the presence of sunlight, isn't it? Now this worm eats the grass or the plants, okay, the grasshopper may eat the worm and the bird will eat the grasshopper, isn't it? So a worm eats the grass and leaves, a grasshopper eats the worms, and birds will eat the grasshopper. So everything is going around and round, isn't it? Each eating the other. Now, I want you all to just think about this particular point. If any one was missing, what would happen to the other? Just think about it. Okay. So I will tell you about it later on. But think, if there is any one thing missing, not there, okay, what will happen to the other? Now, let's answer these questions. Can you tell who eats birds? What is the food of the plants? Now, in this picture, we have seen who will eat the birds. Think, what about the plants? How do they get their food? How do the plants get their food? So, do think about it. Write the answers in your notebook. And to check your answers, you can visit our website at www.jkacademypro.com. You'll get the link in the description box below. Now look at the picture below. Okay, this is a picture of a chain, isn't it? It is connected by various links in it. They are called the links of the chain. There are several links in this chain, isn't it? So each one is a component in itself. If the links were to separate from each other, could they be called a chain? Suppose we separate each one. Could it be still be called a chain? No, we cannot call it a chain, isn't it? Even though each link is a complete object, this is each link is complete object in itself, but without being connected to the other, it will not be part of a chain, isn't it? It is joined to the links before and after it. So there are some things connecting to it before and after. And if any link comes loose, the chain is broken. So any link is broken, okay, comes loose. So we say that the chain is broken and it is of no use now. Now, in the first picture, okay, the picture that we had seen earlier, this picture, set of four pictures, okay, in this picture, what did we see? We see the sun, some plants, a worm, a grasshopper, and a sparrow. Okay, they are all connected, isn't it? So each one eats the other. So it is they are dependent for their food on the other. Now, I told you, isn't it? I told you to reflect on a question. We'll come to that now. Each of the components, that is plants, worm, grasshopper, bird, is the food for the next one, isn't it? It is a food. They have to eat that food, just like we eat our food. So they also need that food. And they that is why we say that they form a food chain. So they are like a chain. Just now we saw a chain, isn't it? In the same way, like this chain, even these things form a chain and they are connected to each other before and after. Okay, so they are connected. So this is what is a food chain. So remember this statement too. So this forms an important chain, and such a chain is called a food chain. Okay, so this is called a food chain, and each of these components is a link in the food chain. Just like we saw, there is a link. Okay, so even this forms a chain, and each of these things components are form the food chain. Okay, so these also form the food chain. Now look at this picture over here. So we see that there is a deer. Okay, so what is the deer's food? The deer's food is the leaves, isn't it? Leaves of the It is eating the leaves of this plant. And look at this tiger. What is the food of the tiger? The tiger will eat the deer, isn't it? Now the picture below shows another food chain. So now let's look at this little picture over here. Okay. Now you have to guess the missing link in it. Something was missing. I had asked you a question earlier also. If something is missing in the food chain, what will happen? Now here is it. Okay. If there is something missing over here. So let's look at this picture and observe it. We see the sun, of course, there are plants and there is a worm over here. Okay, and we see there is an owl, and the owl is eating a bird, isn't it? So what do you think is this missing link over here? So look at the first and the third pictures, that is this picture and this picture, and think of the connection between them and complete the chain. Okay, so I'm sure you are smart enough to understand what is missing. And to check your answers, you could visit our website at www.jkacademypro.com. You'll get the link in the description box below. To check your answers to all the textual questions and for the summary, meanings, other question answers, and for free worksheets, visit our website at www.jkacademypro.com. You'll get the link in the description box below. Do remember to like, share, and subscribe. This is end of part 1. For a complete lesson, do watch part 1 and 2. You'll get the link in the description box below.